Hello, you're listening to Count Richard von Coudenhove Kalergi. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of April, and here's a couple of comments since my last video. You've seen that I played Conrad Rutland's piece last week. I thought I'd play the more famous version. I'd just like to say how sickened and saddened I was to hear about the beheadings of those two gentlemen over in the west of Ireland. You can only imagine the pain and suffering and agony that they went through, and I noticed that the UK Times reported that he was of Middle Eastern origin, while the Irish media didn't. I'm just curious as to whether this could actually be classed as a terrorist attack. And the person in question arrived in Ireland at the age of 6 he's a Turk from Iraq, the Kurdish area of Iraq. And he had also planned, it was disclosed that he had also planned to murder more people using the gay meetup app called Grindr. And even Douglas Murray mentioned that a man from the Middle East tortured and beheads gay men in Ireland after luring them through a hookup app. And the Justice Minister, Helen McEntee, was very quick to report that we thought we are behind, that these kind of incidents are behind us. Well, I never remember a case of gay people being beheaded in Ireland before, and I would also be interested to know that if she actually thinks that the legislation that she wants to introduce as a result of this would actually have made any difference in preventing their deaths. I think not. Also, Aidan O'Riordan tweeted that if your response to Islamophobia, to homophobia is Islamophobia, you are part of the problem. And it also, just to note that his wife Anne Kerr is another member of those with a profile listed on the World Economic Forum website. And I'll end with a quote on this from Douglas Murray, and who said that when it comes to anti-fascism in most Western of Europe, there would appear to be not for a supply and a demand problem. The demand for fascists vastly outstrip the supply. If this current legislation goes through, I would say that would only be for now, because I believe it will be a breeding ground for trouble for Ireland later on. Now, I'd just like to go through, if I may, a little bit of a history lesson here. Stalin's chief executioner was a man called Vasily Boykin, and he personally executed during his career over 22,000 people. But he was most famous for taking part in what was known as the Katyn massacre, and that was a situation that took place between early April and the 28th of April 1940, when he personally executed 7,000 Polish officers. And he did it by building an execution chamber in the forest region of Katyn, where it is believed that he executed up to one person every 3 minutes for 10 hours a day for 28 days solid, resulting in roughly 7,000 people that he had personally murdered. Now, the connection with this is that if you think about the evil in a man's heart that's capable of doing such an incident, and yet you have a situation there where the ex-Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, in an interview said that she felt that the deaths of up to 500,000 Iraqi children was justifiable. Now, my point of bringing that up is that she was also involved when Secretary of State at the bombing of Serbia, where 18 allied countries fired up to 1,100 cruise missiles and bombed Serbia for, hope the little bird gets, that was very close, bombed Serbia for 79 days in a row. They flew 38,000 combat missions, and in one incident the Supreme Allied Commander was a General Wesley Clark, had ordered a paratrooper general called Lieutenant General Mike Jackson to put Chinook helicopters on a runway to prevent a Russian transport aircraft arriving with troops to provide that were there from the Russians to provide help in a peacekeeping role. And the general refused and said, I'm not going to be responsible for the start of World War III. Now, the connection with Madeleine Albright is interesting, that on the day that the bombing actually started was her anniversary her death took place on March the 24th of last month there. So the acts of such barbarity that these people are actually capable of doing. And also, interestingly, there I was going through a document that I read about the US networks, ABC, CBS and NBC devoted more time to the coverage of the war in the Ukraine than they did with the war in Iraq and in any other war that the Americans have been involved in since 1991. Now, just coming into towards Glencree now, you have the Glencree Valley there, and the tip of Capure is in the distance there with Upper and Lower Loch Gray. A nice route for those that are fit enough to hill walk. I've done it myself. Take a couple of hours. But I would also like to add too, I did a little bit of work this week on actually Zelensky himself. And according to Forbes, Zelensky has a net worth of $596 million US. Extraordinary figure. And he has an annual salary of $780,000 US and a monthly income of 11 million. Quite extraordinary. And he's owner of 12 properties, excluding one he sold earlier on this year in February, which was a villa worth 4.5 million euro, and it's a 15-room villa in Tuscany, and it's an area which is famous for other oligarchs, including Abramovich and Berlusconi as being some of his neighbours. This chap also has he has stock invested, which is believed to be in the region of 60 million, cash of 75 million, and has invested in Apple, Microsoft, Amazon and Tesla, amongst other things. And he also owns 8 cars, including a Mercedes G-Class worth $370,000 US, and a Tesla worth 100,000, a Jaguar XF and an Audi Q2. He also has a watch collection worth over 1.5 million, including a Patek Philippe worth 400,000 and a Breguet watch worth 365,000. Sorry. He also owns 5 luxury yachts, and it really is a story of art imitating life, in the sense that for someone who's a comedian, I don't think Vicar Street would be able to afford him to perform there. But I'd also add a little bit more about Katyn, if I may. The ghost of Katyn, and one of the generals who was the Polish Prime Minister in exile during the war was a General Sikorski. When Britain and Russia were formed a merger in trying to defeat Germany with the assistance of Poland, General Sikorski was, as I said, he was the Prime Minister in exile, started to ask him rather embarrassing questions as to what happened to the Polish officers who disappeared. Now, Stalin did release a lot of the POWs that were held in captivity in 1943, but sadly Sikorski, as he made this such an important issue, as it rightly should be, was killed in a plane crash on the 4th of July 1943 when the Liberator bomber he was flying in took off from Malta and crashed, thus ending the pressure on Russia to explain what happened to the Polish officers. And yet again, on the 70th anniversary, there was a plane crash that took out most of the Polish government as they were attending a memorial service for the 70th anniversary back in 2010 of the Katyn massacre. I had an interesting chat there during the week with a lady who came up on the subject of vaccinations, and if I may say, that she had suffered badly from bleeding her menstrual cycle had been greatly affected by this, and also she had rashes all down both her legs, and was very angry about the fact that she felt that she had been coerced into taking this experimental vaccine because she needed to travel to do it work. So I explained to her about the Nuremberg Code and how that coercion is one of the things that's mentioned in the Nuremberg Code that can't be emphasized enough. And also I heard that a story recently of a lady who was asked to vacate a hospital so that they could make room for the Ukrainians coming in. So there are a couple of thoughts which are my own. Thanks for listening. It's a beautiful day up around here. The setting sun is quite beautiful, and actually there's a rock up here on the left hand side. I'd been up here before, and written on the rock it says Marburg, which may or may not materialise. So I just might do, if I get up to the car park here, I'll just do a little turn around to give you a chance to see. There's a lake just down there, very beautiful lake, and have to watch out for the potholes here, because some of them are quite nasty, and a couple of little wagtails in the car park as there usually is. And you can see the Compure mast there in the distance. Swing this around here, try not to, you should get a glimpse of it there. Okay, thanks for listening, good night, good luck, and God bless.